10. From Shanghai to Stardom. Nina Lichi's story begins in Shanghai, where she was born in 1961 into an artistic family. Her father, Li Wing-sek, was a respected stage actor, and her mother had deep ties to traditional Chinese performance art. Growing up in this environment, Nina wasn't just surrounded by lights and applause. She was raised in the rhythm of performance itself. But few could predict that this little girl from Shanghai would one day become one of Hong Kong's most dazzling screen sirens of the 1980s. When she was a teenager, Nina moved to Hong Kong, a city exploding with cinematic energy. The 1980s were the golden age of Hong Kong cinema, when names like Chow Yun-fat and Maggie Cheung were redefining what it meant to be a star. Nina, with her striking Eurasian features and magnetic charm, immediately stood out. She first gained attention by entering beauty pageants, a classic route to fame back then. In 1986, she won the title of Miss Asia Pacific Hong Kong and went on to represent the city internationally. The world saw her as confident, sophisticated, and irresistibly charming. Yet, even in her early interviews, she revealed a sharp mind and a hunger for more than just beauty contests. She wanted to act, to create, to be remembered. Her entry into acting was smooth but bold. She landed roles that highlighted her allure, but also her confidence, something that quickly set her apart from other actresses of her era. Directors knew that when Nina appeared on screen, she didn't just play a role, she owned it. Her elegance wasn't timid, it was commanding. But behind that calm exterior was a young woman navigating one of the most competitive entertainment industries in Asia. Number 9. The femme fatale of Hong Kong cinema. Once Nina entered the film scene, she carved a niche that few could rival. She became known as Hong Kong's ultimate femme fatale. Her beauty wasn't the sweet girl-next-door kind. It was dangerous, sophisticated, and hypnotic. She exuded a quiet power that made audiences, and even her co-stars, lean in closer. One of her breakout performances came in the 1988 comedy The Tiger on the Beat, where she starred opposite Chow Yun-fat. Though the film was packed with action and slapstick humor, Nina's presence was magnetic. She managed to bring glamour and intelligence to what could have been a secondary role, and audiences couldn't take their eyes off her. Soon after, she starred in China White, a gritty crime film set in Amsterdam alongside Andy Lau and Alex Mann. There, Nina played a nightclub owner entangled in love, power, and the underworld, a role that fit her perfectly. Critics called her performances bold, sensual, and emotionally layered. But Nina was never just about seduction. She played her characters with subtlety, often showing the intelligence and emotional control of a woman who knew her worth. Her portrayals were a reflection of her own personality, poised, private, and perceptive. She often said in interviews that she chose roles that gave women power, even in the male-dominated Hong Kong film scene. Whether she was playing a ruthless businesswoman, a mysterious lover, or a woman caught between loyalty and ambition, she brought strength and vulnerability to the screen in equal measure. In the span of less than a decade, Nina Lichi became a household name, not only for her talent but for her aura, one that suggested both danger and depth. But just when her career was reaching its peak, she made a decision that shocked everyone in the entertainment industry. Her rise from Shanghai's quiet stages to the flashing cameras of Hong Kong's movie sets was meteoric. Yet it was only the beginning of a story that would take a dramatic and deeply personal turn. Because behind the spotlight, Nina was about to meet someone who would change her life and redefine her destiny forever. Number 8. The Day She Met Jet Li. It was 1989, and the Hong Kong film industry was at its peak, fueled by fast-paced productions, rising stars, and global audiences hungry for kung fu heroes. Jet Li, the martial arts prodigy from mainland China, had already captured hearts with his powerful presence in Shaolin Temple and Once Upon a Time in China. Meanwhile, Nina Lichi had become the glamorous queen of Hong Kong cinema. When the two met on the set of Dragon Fight, 1989, something unexpected happened, a spark that went far beyond the script. At first, they were just co-stars. Jet Li was known for his quiet discipline, while Nina was admired for her confidence and elegance. But their chemistry was impossible to ignore. Crew members described their connection as electric, both on-screen and off. Nina's charm broke through Jet Li's reserved nature, and the stoic kung fu star began to show a softer side. Yet, at that time, Jet Li was still married to his first wife, Huang Qiuyan, his former classmate from the Beijing Wushu team. Their marriage had been built on shared struggles in the early years of his fame. But as his career grew and his world expanded, so did the emotional distance. Meeting Nina changed everything. In interviews years later, Jet Li admitted that when he met Nina, he realized for the first time what love truly meant. "I gave up everything for her," he confessed, and he wasn't exaggerating. He divorced his wife in 1990, left behind most of his wealth, and pursued a relationship with Nina despite the storm of controversy that followed. The Hong Kong press went wild, labeling Nina as the woman who stole Jet Li's heart and painting her as a seductive homewrecker. But those who knew her said she was simply being herself, strong-willed, independent, and unwilling to play by the industry's rules. The two faced immense pressure from tabloids and public judgment, but Jet Li stood firm. He once said that Nina taught him what it meant to love without compromise. "I don't care about fame or fortune," he told the press. "If I can protect her and the family we build, that's my true success." In a world obsessed with image, their bond became something rare, real, private, and enduring. Number 7. From movie star to mystery woman. Then, just as quickly as she had risen to fame, Nina Li vanished. One day, she was Hong Kong's most photographed actress. The next, she was gone from the public eye. No grand farewell, no emotional press conference, just silence. In 1992, at the height of her success, Nina made her final film, A Kid from Tibet, and quietly retired. Her disappearance left fans stunned. Why would a star at the top of her career walk away? Some speculated she wanted to escape the relentless gossip. Others believed she wanted to focus on her relationship with Jet Li. But the truth was more profound. Nina had always valued control over her image, her choices, and her life, and she decided she would rather disappear on her own terms than fade away under public scrutiny. Her exit also revealed something few had realized before. Behind the screen, Goddess was a deeply private woman. Nina had no interest in fame for fame's sake. The entertainment industry had given her everything: money, power, recognition, but also taken her peace. By walking away, she reclaimed it. When Jet Li and Nina married in 1999, it was a low-profile ceremony. No media frenzy, no red carpet. She had transitioned from movie icon to a woman completely outside the spotlight, focusing instead on her family and personal life. They later had 2 daughters, Jane and Jada, whom Nina raised largely away from the cameras. Jet Li continued to build his global film career, starring in Hollywood hits like Lethal Weapon 4 and Hero, but Nina remained almost unseen. She never appeared at film premieres, avoided interviews, and had no social media presence. Her withdrawal was so complete that younger fans of Jet Li didn't even know what she looked like. She became a legend of mystery, someone who had conquered fame and then rejected it. Even in rare public photos, she radiated the same calm confidence she once had on screen. But now it carried a new kind of strength, the quiet authority of someone who knows her worth without needing validation. People close to her say that Nina manages the family's finances and investments, taking a leading role in ensuring their wealth and stability. In a way, she evolved from screen queen to behind-the-scenes strategist, a transformation that fits her personality perfectly. She no longer needed applause. Her satisfaction came from control, peace, and privacy. In today's celebrity world, where everyone fights to stay visible, Nina Li-Chi stands out precisely because she chose not to be seen. Her retreat wasn't a disappearance. It was a declaration that true power sometimes comes from walking away. Wicker 6. The power behind Jet Li's fortune. When Jet Li's Hollywood career exploded in the early 2000s, few realized that one of the most influential figures behind his success was not a producer or a manager, but Nina Li-Chi herself. After retiring from acting, she quietly took on a new role, the strategist behind the Jet Li empire. While Jet was busy filming Romeo Must Die, Kiss of the Dragon, and The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Nina handled the numbers, the deals, and the long-term planning. Unlike many stars who trusted their wealth to agents or financial firms, Jet relied almost entirely on Nina. And with good reason. She had a sharp business mind and a cautious nature. Friends of the couple described Nina as brilliantly private but brutally practical. She preferred reading market reports to walking red carpets, and she reportedly studied international finance to manage their investments more effectively. Jet Li himself once admitted in an interview, "I don't touch money. Nina handles everything. She's the boss when it comes to our finances." That one sentence revealed the power dynamic in their marriage, built not on control, but on trust. Jet, the action legend seen by millions, was guided by a woman who operated completely in the shadows. When Jet Li nearly went bankrupt after his production company ran into losses in the early 1990s, it was Nina who helped him rebuild. She insisted they focus on stability instead of risk. She shifted their fortune into property and conservative investments in Singapore and Hong Kong, later helping Jet establish the One Foundation, a global charity promoting disaster relief and education. Her influence was so profound that insiders often joked, Jet Li is the face, but Nina Li is the backbone. Behind the scenes, she was fiercely protective of him. After Jet suffered life-threatening injuries during filming and later battled health issues, Nina reportedly restructured their lives to ensure his recovery. She kept their daughters far from the media circus, turning their home into a fortress of calm. That quiet domestic world, orchestrated by Nina, was the balance Jet needed to survive Hollywood's chaos. It's easy to forget that she once played glamorous leads and walked under flashing cameras, because now she is the opposite of that image. She became the invisible force, one who built an empire of security while rejecting everything the public wanted from her. That's the paradox of Nina Li-Chi, the woman who conquered fame only to use her power to disappear from it. 5. A love, tested by time and tragedy. Every great love story has a storm. For Nina and Jet Li, the storm came in waves, public judgment, illness, and the weight of fame itself. But through each trial, Nina's presence remained constant. In 2004, Jet Li was nearly killed by a tsunami while vacationing in the Maldives. The story made international headlines. The action star who could survive any battle on screen almost lost his life to nature, Ica's fury. When he returned home shaken, Nina was the one who pulled him back to stability. She reportedly encouraged him to slow down, to focus on what truly mattered, their family and the meaning of giving back. It was during this period that Jet began devoting much of his time and fortune to philanthropy. He credited Nina for helping him shift his perspective on life. Then, years later, Jet Li's declining health became a global topic. Photos of him looking frail and older went viral, with fans expressing concern. Rumors spread about hyperthyroidism and spinal injuries. Once again, Nina stepped in, not publicly, but privately. She managed his schedule, reduced his commitments, and kept him away from stress. In interviews, Jet spoke openly about how much he owed her. "Without Nina, I wouldn't be here today." Those were not just words of affection, they were words of survival. Their marriage, which began under controversy, evolved into one of Hollywood and Asia's most enduring partnerships. While other celebrity relationships collapsed under pressure, Nina and Jet's bond grew stronger with time. She never gave interviews, never responded to tabloids, never sought attention. Her silence became her shield and her strength. Behind closed doors, those who know them describe a relationship built on mutual respect. Nina doesn't act like a celebrity wife. She acts like a partner, a confidant, and sometimes even a bodyguard. Her decisiveness complements Jet's calm humility. In public, he often bows slightly when mentioning her name, a quiet sign of gratitude. To the world, Jet Li is the hero who defies gravity. But to those who know them personally, Nina Lichi is the gravity that keeps him grounded. Their story defies the usual celebrity script. It is not about constant exposure or picture-perfect romance. It is about two people who found strength in privacy. For Nina, love was never about possession or publicity. It was about presence. She once said to a close friend, "If you love someone, you don't need the world to see it. You just need him to feel it." And that's exactly what she's lived by for over 3 decades. Year 4, the enigma of her disappearance from public life. By the early 2000s, Hong Kong's entertainment industry had transformed dramatically. Flashier, louder, more driven by tabloids and scandals than ever before. Yet in that noisy new world, Nina Lichi was a ghost. After her final public appearance in 2001, she seemed to vanish completely. No new photos, no interviews, no magazine features. She didn't attend film festivals, wasn't seen at charity events, and even at Jet Li's major Hollywood premieres, she was nowhere to be found. For most celebrities, disappearing like that would mean the end of relevance. For Nina, it became the foundation of her legend. Fans and journalists began calling her the invisible star. Some speculated that Jet Li had forbidden her from public appearances, while others believed she had chosen a life of meditation and simplicity. But those close to the couple clarified the truth. Nina chose solitude willingly. She believed that fame was a double-edged sword, sweet at first, but deadly over time. She had watched colleagues in the film industry spiral into depression, scandal, and financial ruin after their fame faded. She refused to become one of them. Living mostly in Singapore and occasionally in China, Nina built a world where peace came before prestige. She managed her family's assets, oversaw real estate holdings, and dedicated herself to her daughter's education. For her, the cameras that once defined her were now distractions, and the fans who once adored her became distant observers of a woman they could no longer see. What's fascinating is that Nina's disappearance only deepened her mythos. While many stars struggled to remain in the spotlight, she proved that absence could be more powerful than presence. People began to romanticize her, the idea of a woman who had it all and then gave it up by choice. In a celebrity culture obsessed with visibility, Nina Lichi became a symbol of control. Her silence was not weakness, it was defiance. Even Jet Li acknowledged this mystery, saying in a 2013 interview, "She gave up her career, her fame, and her freedom just to give our family stability. That kind of strength, I can't put into words." Her retreat from the world wasn't about hiding. It was about protecting what she valued most. Number 3. The legacy of her daughters and private world. While Nina Lichi has remained hidden, her influence echoes through the lives of her daughters, Jane and Jada Lee. Both were raised in Singapore, where they grew up shielded from the chaos of fame that defined their parents' early lives. Jet and Nina made an intentional decision. Their children would live as privately as possible, free from the expectations of celebrity lineage. Jane, the eldest, studied at Harvard University, following a path completely different from the film industry. Her passion for public service and humanitarian work mirrors her father's philanthropic vision. But her calm, grounded personality is pure Nina. Jada, the younger sister, has shown a flair for creativity and the arts, but still avoids public attention. When asked about his daughters, Jet once smiled and said, They got their mother's discipline and my stubbornness, a dangerous mix. Friends of the family described Nina as a strict but deeply loving mother. She set clear boundaries, valued education over luxury, and emphasized humility despite their wealth. While she rarely allowed public photographs of her daughters, she made sure they grew up with strong values and emotional intelligence. In interviews, Jet often praises her parenting, saying, "She gave our children the structure I couldn't. I'm always traveling, but Nina made home a sanctuary." Their household, though extravagant by normal standards, is built on simplicity. Nina reportedly avoids designer excess and prefers traditional Chinese meals over lavish dining. She has no personal assistants or entourage, only a small circle of trusted staff who have been with the family for decades. Yet her daughter's success reflects her influence far beyond parenting. Both girls embody a blend of Eastern discipline and Western freedom, a balance Nina herself mastered long ago. They represent a continuation of her values: quiet strength, self-control, and the courage to live differently. Despite being surrounded by fame and fortune, Nina has always guarded her family from becoming tabloid fodder. Her approach is rare, especially in an era when celebrity children are groomed for social media. But Nina doesn't believe in spectacle. She believes in legacy. "Wealth and fame are temporary," she once told a family friend, "but how you raise your children, that's eternal." In a way, her daughters are her greatest masterpiece. While her movies defined a decade, her family defines her lifetime. The Nina Lee the world once knew, the dazzling actress, the alluring femme fatale, has evolved into something much greater, the architect of a quiet dynasty built on discipline, intelligence, and love. And perhaps that's her greatest role yet, the one no camera ever captured. Agra 2. The Woman Who Taught Jet Li, the Meaning of Peace. For most of his career, Jet Li was known as the ultimate fighter, the man who conquered the world with speed, precision, and unmatched skill. But behind that strength was a quiet influence shaping his perspective on life. That influence was Nina Lee. She didn't just share his home, she reshaped his understanding of purpose. Before Nina, Jet Li lived like a soldier, relentless, disciplined, and constantly on the move. His life was a series of film sets, fights, and fame. But Nina brought him something completely different: stillness. She encouraged him to see beyond box office numbers and martial arts choreography. When he founded the One Foundation, his global charity focused on disaster relief and children's welfare, he credited Nina as the moral compass behind it. "She reminded me," he once said, "that the goal is to be #1 in the world. It used to make the world a little better." While Jet Li's fame grew internationally, Nina became his quiet anchor. She guided him to balance wealth with spirituality. Her emphasis on mindfulness and simplicity came from her own upbringing in Shanghai, where she'd learned the Buddhist values of calm and compassion from an early age. Jet has said many times that he admires how Nina can stay calm even when the world is on fire. When Jet nearly lost his life in the 2004 tsunami, it was Nina's voice that guided him through his recovery. Not just physically but spiritually. She helped him reframe his life after that experience, turning trauma into purpose. He once told a journalist, "Nina doesn't just give love, she gives direction. When I lose focus, she's the one who brings me back." In private, she's known for meditating daily, reading classical Chinese philosophy, and maintaining an almost monastic lifestyle. Friends describe their home as peaceful, quiet, filled with books and family photos instead of luxury displays. Even Jet's Hollywood peers have mentioned that when you visit their home, it feels less like a mansion and more like a sanctuary, a reflection of Nina's spirit. She may have vanished from the screens, but she became the light in Jet's off-screen world, the rare kind of peace that even fame can buy. And perhaps that's why he's never stopped calling her his greatest blessing. Number 1. The Legend of Nina Lee. Beauty, mystery, and legacy. Today, more than 3 decades after she left the spotlight, Nina Li-Chi remains one of the most enigmatic women in Asian entertainment history. Fans still search her name online, still debate her reasons for walking away, still share grainy photos from her 1980s films with nostalgia. She represents a kind of stardom that no longer exists, one where allure wasn't measured in likes or hashtags, but in mystery. Even younger audiences who never saw her movies know her story through Jet Li's devotion. Whenever he speaks of her, there's reverence in his tone, a softness rarely seen from a man trained to fight. In a 2010 interview, when asked what he loved most about Nina, he paused and said, "Her silence. It's louder than any applause." That single line captured everything about her legacy. Her life challenges the modern obsession with visibility. In an age where everyone fights to be seen, Nina Li-Chi proved that vanishing can be the ultimate power move. She walked away from fame at its peak, built a private world of peace, and raised a family that thrives far from the chaos of celebrity culture. Her beauty was once her weapon. Now, her wisdom is her crown. Even her old films have taken on a new meaning. Watch The Tiger on the Beat or China White today, and you'll see something timeless in her performances. Not just glamour, but a sense of quiet authority. She didn't act like a woman trying to be admired. She acted like a woman who already knew her worth, and that confidence still resonates decades later. Many call her the Marilyn Monroe of Hong Kong, but that comparison only scratches the surface. Unlike Monroe, Nina didn't burn out under fame. She extinguished fame itself and walked away untouched. She became what every celebrity secretly wants to be, remembered without being consumed. Her story is one of evolution. From beauty queen to movie star, from scandal survivor to devoted mother, from public figure to private legend. Each chapter of her life reflects the same theme: control. Control over her choices, her image, and her destiny. In a world that demands exposure, Nina Li-Chi remains a masterclass in mystery. In the end, the 10 facts about Nina Li-Chi tell us more than just her biography. They reveal a philosophy: that true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. That love can outlast fame. And that walking away, when done with grace, can be the most powerful performance of all. If you like this video, forget to hit the like button and share it with anyone who loves stories of mystery, fame, and transformation. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating lives behind the spotlight. Join the channel to unlock exclusive content, behind-the-scenes features, and hidden stories we don't share anywhere else. And if you'd like to show your support, hit the Super Thanks button below. Every contribution helps us bring more untold legends like Nina Li-Chi to life. See you in the next story, where fame fades, but legends never do.